Welcome to Life of Legacy, your key to a better life. I'm Jonathan Lawrence Clark, your host, and today we have a very special guest, Yolonda Griffin Johnson, VP Financial Shared Services with Randstad US, with a focus on billing, commercial credit, and customer setup. She's also the creator and program director for Randstad US's internship program for finance and IT, and it will probably expand beyond those departments in the future years. Also, founder and CEO of Ravens Project, a scholarship and service organization created to build the legacy of her late daughter, Raven Charlene Johnson. And in addition, founder of Brown Lady Productions as well. So Yolanda's active, involved in a lot of different things, and above and beyond everything, she is a person of service. She's a service in the community, service to those she leads, and that's at the heart of everything she does since I've known her. So I really want to get deep into that as we go through, as our topic today is the impact of servant leadership. So we'll talk more about that later. But first, I want to lay the groundwork before we get into the servant leadership to talk about what is leadership in general and kind of set the ground rules for that and make sure we're on the same page when we're talking about what a leader is. So Yolanda, I would lead in with the question for you. What is your definition of leadership?
That's an interesting question because leadership is framed in so many different contexts, right? We think about leadership as corporate leaders and presidents and CEOs and managers and supervisors and things like that. My framework for leadership comes from my faith. That's the first thing I think about when I think about leadership. I am a Christian. I'm a Jesus follower. And so Jesus is the premier image that I have. He's the premier mentor I have in leadership. When I think about that leadership model of Christ, what comes to mind is someone who came to make people's lives better. Mm. And so for me, my leadership framework and how I look at a leader and how I measure myself as a leader, am I making the spaces that I get to lead in better? Am I making my children better? Am I making my home better? Am I making my community better? Yeah. Am I making the people that I leave in my teams better? Am I making the organization better? What is the better that I get to leave behind? And that's, to me, true leadership legacy.
Okay. And maybe, differs a little bit from some people's idea of leadership because I think we put people in leadership roles on such a pedestal. I think in society that sometimes I think leadership is misconstrued and it's almost viewed in sort of a selfish lens, almost kind of like the person's raised up in the perception of those that they're leading, and everybody wants to be in charge or everybody wants to be famous or be visible, and that people confuse the visibility with the responsibility, I think sometimes.
Absolutely. And that's why I think looking at that model, right, of making it better, it makes everybody a leader because everybody has a responsibility to make something better than what they got it, right? So if we take that model, then it takes down the hierarchy, if you will, that we have in the concept, especially in Western society, around leadership is people on the bottom and then the leader at the top, and the leader is telling everybody what to do. And I know we're going to get into some other conversations around what leadership doesn't look like, but yeah, when you take the idea that leadership is to make things better, everybody then can have ownership in leading within every space, sphere, influence, or scope that they have to do that work.
Okay. So you said everybody has leadership in them. From a business standpoint or a career standpoint, do you believe everyone should aspire to lead professionally and be in a people leadership role eventually? Or is that something that's more suited to some people than others?
Yeah, that absolutely not. I mean, because there's skill that comes with it, right? So you have innate born. I think John Maxwell talks a lot about that. There's this innate ability to lead, and then there's learned leadership. And so it all becomes a matter of will, skill, ability, and context. Yeah. Because, where I can lead in my community to make sure, that that litter is picked up. It's very different than leading in a corporation where
Yeah.
tough decisions have to be made, and maybe you don't have the will to do that work. And so leadership is broad, but then it also lives in a context. And so from a corporation perspective, what skills do you have? What willingness do you have to lead in that context? And that would make it, something where no, everyone isn't a leader in this space. Well,
Yeah.
where can you make it better and be a leader?
Okay. Yeah, I like that because leading in different capacities requires different skill sets, and things of that nature. But even at home, if you're a parent, you're a leader, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you might lead at the PTA, or you might lead a community organization, or different things.
Absolutely. And that goes back to what you were saying, is that we have this kind of narrow box concept of leadership and what leaders look like. And then if people aspire to that because it somehow has a social status to it, and obviously it has economic status to it, in the way we've built the leadership framework in Western society. But when you think about the broadness of that, if you can lead your little area and lead it better, then that's a form of leadership.
Yeah.
And we should embrace that, and we should celebrate that, and we should give people permission to do that.
So we're just because I'm hearing here, and I'm having this picture of what we project, or what society projects as what a leader is, right? And then people who are coming up and they see these examples and then maybe don't see themselves in those examples.
Yeah.
Right. So are we doing people a disservice by only projecting certain elements of leadership in society and not showing the diversity and the authenticity behind the leaders, the broad leaders that are actually out there, right? Because if you can see yourself in a leader, you broaden your horizons for what you think you can be and what you think you can become. But sometimes it just seems so far out of reach for some people when they look at the type of individuals that are kind of put out in the light.
I think we're going through a renaissance and a bit of revolution around that concept, especially with Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I think the millennials are trailing that a little bit. They are proving to us, like, they are just dismissing what we as Gen Xers and Boomers have traditionally known in the leadership model. They are turning this thing upside down. They're leading from their little scopes. When I think about it, I think about TikTok and all these little channels. They're all leading something, right? And they're drawing people to themselves within their scope. And sometimes they don't desire to get out of that box, but they are leading within that framework. And so where I hear your question around, are we guiding people to the wrong concept? I think we certainly need to expand it. And these generations that are coming up are pushing it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're just like, I'm busting out of that box.
Yeah.
And they're creating an entire new concept around leadership and what it means to lead, from their phone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think over time that will change the examples that we see.
Absolutely.
Just by the fact of them being willing to kind of step outside of that mold.
Yep.
and be something different, which we've always talked about. Diverse leadership yields more diverse leadership because when you see the examples, people aspire to it, but also a diverse leadership team makes different decisions when it comes to upward mobility of those below them, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of a cycle that builds on itself.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see what comes out of that with the new generation.
And it's of course, because people don't live within a box. So they're bringing that concept to corporate spaces. I had a conversation this week around a very spirited conversation. And most of the people in the room were Gen Xers and millennials. And we were having a discussion around, do we bend to their model of leadership, or do we contain our model of leadership, which is very much more structured, very much more hierarchy, very much top down. And where is that divide? And the conversation kind of went to where they're bucking it. Of course they are, because they don't want that leadership model, and they see other ways to lead other than here's the leader, you tell me what to do and I just do it, right?
Yeah.
Which is the traditional model that we were introduced to. And by we, I mean my generation. I'm a Gen Xer. And so we get the boomers, here's the boss knows everything, and the boss tells us what to do, and we the people do it. And we're moving more into that servant leader role where the people at the bottom know what to do. My job is to help facilitate it, get the resources, get the right scope, get the right design, help guide them to that. And so to me, that's the true action of a servant leader, is not that I'm here telling them what to do, but I'm here with them, helping to guide, lead, walk with them.
Yes.
Get it done. Sometimes I have to walk ahead, sometimes
Yeah.
I have to walk beside, and sometimes I walk behind because they know where to lead me.
Yeah. Which takes some different qualities, some different soft skills to be able to lead in that way rather than just kind of giving the orders. Because it's a much different mindset, and we'll talk more about that later as we get into servant leadership.
And I would say it takes a different ego.
Ooh, not ego. Okay. I don't want to get, we're going to get way off on a tangent if I follow up on that, but I want you, please put a pencil in that, because I want you to come back to that
Okay.
once we talk about servant leadership. Okay. So we'll talk about ego in that.
Okay.
All right. So you're VP. I got to milk you for all the information I possibly can for the listeners. So Yolanda, can you tell me, what are your 3 keys to impactful and effective leadership?
Listening. That would be the first.
Okay.
One of my life philosophies is first seek to understand, then to be understood. And for me, there are more questions in life than answers. I tell everybody I meet that. And so if I ask questions, I have to be willing to listen.
Okay.
And so listening is a real key to how I lead. I want to know, I want to learn. I gain empathy, I gain understanding, I gain perspective when I do that. So the first key for me is listening, the ability to communicate.
Okay.
Especially as you ascend in leadership, your ability to be able to communicate clearly, detailed, and concisely becomes very important, especially in this time where people's attention spans are shorter. You only have so much time, you only have so much text, you only get so many characters to tell the story. And so being able to communicate both verbally and written is extremely important.
Okay. I'm taking notes. So if you see me look down, I'm taking notes. You got listening, communication.
And be clear about your vision, right? And so I would say the third thing is, because the higher up you go, the more people are going to tell you what they want you to do. People are going to, this is what I think you should do. And there's nothing wrong with listening to those voices, but you have to be clear about where you're driving. So get real clear about your vision and what you're trying to accomplish, so that you're driving and you can hear other voices, but you understand where you're going and which voices or ideas align with where you're going and which ones take you off path. Oftentimes, especially when leaders with bigger titles or more experience try to guide you to what they want, that's when you get, in my opinion, a leader that's just flipping all over the place because they're trying to please the voices. They're unclear about their own vision.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a powerful one, the clarity of vision. And when you say clarity of vision, are you meaning their vision for themselves professionally, their vision for what they want to achieve? Because there's a company vision, there's where your boss's vision fits into that company vision.
Right.
And then you have to have some sort of vision of your own based on your own experiences, goals, objectives, value system, right?
And the people beneath you, what are you trying to accomplish for them? Again, getting back to that servant leadership. So all of that, right? What am I trying to accomplish based on the goals that have been placed before me? What am I trying to accomplish based on what I see needs to be accomplished in this space?
Yeah.
How do I reconcile that? How do I guide the people above me to see, yes, this is your goal, and here's what I see, and how do we bring that together?
Yeah.
And so that I guess that would come to sum it up really is a leader has to have vision at a certain level, right? I believe that I think it's Maxwell again that talks a lot about different kinds of leaders, your maintenance leaders, your different kinds of leaders. But a visionary leader is extremely important when you're talking about being an top organizational leader.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm following. And then you talked about listening, which is highly important, but it also demonstrates that you value the perspectives, opinions, insight, expertise of your team, right? Because if you're willing to listen to those around you, whether it's your manager, the people that are following you, you at least are demonstrating that you care about what they have to say and their thoughts and ideas. Not every leader does that, but I think it's very important because it sends a message to the team about how you value them.
Absolutely. And I think I'll give you some a little deeper. It also communicates, I don't know everything.
There you go.
Right. And so, again, this Western concept of leadership, you'll continue to hear me say that, is that the leader
Wait a
knows.
minute though. Wait a minute though. Isn't the leader supposed to know everything, Yolanda? I'm just asking.
I don't know everything. And the most powerful thing you can learn as a leader is to be like this, to admit when you don't know. My job is not to know, my job is to find out. So
Okay.
that's my job. My job is not to know everything. My job is to find out who is the resource that know it. Bring them to the table. That's my job. So that's something that again changes the dynamic of traditionally what we've said is the leader. You're the leader because you know. No, I'm the leader because I know how to go get. I know how to align. I know how to do that. It's not because I know. And the most powerful thing you can do as a up and coming leader is to admit when you don't know, but do the work of finding out.
Mm. Wow. Okay. That was a big one right there. And so in the process of going to find out as well, you're also fully leveraging the expertise of the team, right? Because
Right.
you got a team with people who have expertise in areas you might not as a leader. And it's okay to acknowledge that they know and you don't. Your job is to get the job done and leverage their expertise to make that happen. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And Jonathan again, and we'll get into this, and bring them to the dance. Bring them to the table. Don't go rob them of their information and don't give them credit or don't give them exposure or don't give them the opportunity to share that in a broader meeting or a broader group of people. My job is to unmine the resources. Who are the people that know? Bring them up, leverage them, give them more opportunity to make things better. So
yeah, but this makes it, to me, this makes leadership feel a lot more accessible to more people because
absolutely.
now you're saying, okay, it takes the pressure off. I don't have to know everything. No, you don't have to know everything.
You don't.
The skill set is learning how to leverage the people around you and the resources around you to get things done.
Yep.
If you're a person that can go get it, you can be a leader.
Absolutely. And the other part of that is, it doesn't give leaders the permission to be ignorant. It doesn't give leaders the permission to just say, I don't know and never know, because people won't gain credibility in you.
Yeah.
Either the people you're leading or the people who are looking at you to lead. So there has to be a balance of learning that you're willing to do. This goes back to that listening. But ultimately, it's about learning from who and whomever, whatever person got the knowledge, let's learn.
Yeah. 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 So you started with 3, but I got 5 now. Because you said listening, communication, clarity of vision. Now we've got leveraging of people and resources and learner mindset.
I'll take all of it.
So we got 5 keys.
We'll probably get 10 if we keep talking.
You're probably right. You're probably right. Off to a great start. So let's talk about qualities. So we've talked about skills that a person needs. What are some of the important qualities that a person needs to be an impactful and effective leader?
Integrity. Be who you are in every space. You cannot, I think you know this, I have a TikTok account, right? So whoever I choose to be, no one would look at my TikTok account at work and go, that's her. They'd be like, oh my gosh, she out there doing it. Oh my goodness, because I'm that person wherever I go. It shows up differently depending on the space, but no one would be shocked anywhere in my life to see me doing any of the things I'm doing. They would be like, I can't believe she's in, because that's the integrity of my life and how I live my life, right? So integrity is important. Along with integrity, do what you say you're gonna do. Be truthful, be honest, even if the truth is not what people want to hear. There's a way to tell truth. There's a way to be truth teller that's compassionate, that's empathetic, that's respectful, but you should be truthful as much as you can.
Okay.
Because oftentimes, especially in the corporate space, what I found and what I've experienced is that people will tell you one thing and then go in another room and negotiate something different. I don't want it ever to be said of my team that I didn't show up the same in their face as I did in the meeting where they were not present.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
If I say you're a top person to your face, when I go in the room with my leaders, they should hear the same noise.
Yeah.
Because the power of a leader is to be able to represent people in places and tables they are not. And if I trust you, that you're going to take me in that room when I'm not there, I got to trust that you're going to show up the same way you showed up in my face.
Yeah. And so I want to have two follow-up questions to that. First question is, what do you think would cause a leader to not be honest in that situation?
I think it goes back to clarity of vision and not being really strong in their own person to live out whatever convictions they have.
Okay.
Because sometimes you get in rooms, you're intimidated. You're in the rooms with people who have more information or have more authority. And you as a leader are like, maybe I shouldn't do that or say that. So you have that ability. And I'm kind of strong in that personhood that I'm clear about my convictions. And when I own it, I own it. And so you've got to be that, or people won't trust you.
Ah, you hit the nail on the head for my next question, right? So trust, because you're talking about honesty and integrity, and those are key to building trust with your team. Can you talk about the importance of building that trust with the people you're leading?
Absolutely. So if you don't trust me, then you're going to work with some kind of trepidly. You're going to work not half in, half out. I ain't really sure I'm going to give it my all because I don't really trust that the outcomes that I'm being told are possibilities will come to fruition.
Okay.
And so I had a conversation with one of my leaders this week, and we were talking about opportunities, and they mentioned someone who left the company, and they were like, "Man, if I could get that person back." And the first thing I said to them was, "Oh, I hired that person to the company, and if I wanted them to come back, I said they would. I said, but here's the problem: when they left the company, they left without trust. I said, so they would come and work for me, but they don't trust the company anymore. So I can't guarantee them I'll always be their leader if they come back. So they're not going to come back and work with the same effort, passion. When you get that new employee, they're like all in because they really don't know that they're ready to change the world for you.
Yeah.
Until trust is broken and people start playing defensively.
Yeah.
I got to protect myself. I got to do this. So you don't get the best out of people when trust is not present.
Wow. Okay. And I don't think enough people make that connection between the trust and the productivity. It affects the productivity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. They become, and I told you earlier this week, we talked about harnessing the talents of intergenerational people. And one of the things they were telling me, and this came from a lot of Gen Xers, that's not in my job description.
Oh, wow.
That's not, why they say that is because they've given their all before and that all was not rewarded. And so now they play to the job description.
Okay.
It's not my job description. I'm not doing it. Because when they did beyond the job description, they didn't get the promotion. They didn't get a raise. They didn't get the extras.
Yeah.
So now people play defensively because they don't trust.
Yeah. And there's sacrifice involved in that. Like when you're going
Yes.
on above and beyond, you're taking time away from the family, the wife and the kids, and unfortunately
It's
sometimes
emotional investment.
yeah, yeah, that investment of time, you take that time and that energy from something else to give it to the company. And then if it's not honored, then people make different choices, right?
Yep. Emotional passion. I gave you my passion that I could have given
I put
someplace
my
else.
heart and soul into it.
And then I looked at you and you said, here's 25 cents, or brought somebody in from the outside. And I've experienced all of that. I personally don't know how to live without, I don't engage things that I can't give my passion to. I cannot be a paycheck player. It is not within my ethos to do that. If I get it, I'm giving it, and I'm going to trust God for the reward. And I had to tell myself that some ways along my career when I wasn't getting the promotions and I wasn't getting opportunities. And I had to tell myself, you know what? I'm going to work as unto the Lord. He's the one that rewards, because I do not know how to show up halfway. If I'm in it, I'm in it. But there are a lot of people who trust has been broken in corporate spaces and in leadership, and people they put their trust in as leaders, that now, yeah.
So, but that sounds personal. It sounds like the employee is viewing it personally and taking it personally, whereas the company would say, well, these are just business decisions.
And we can't disconnect that. I mean, we are not widgets. We are humans with emotions and dreams and ideas. And so as leaders, we can't just sit behind the cold image or the cold statements of, well, this is just business. Yeah, it is business. But, and we should, as humans, keep that in mind, that the ultimate goal of any corporation is to be profitable. So there is a line where that is real. But at the same time, how well do you treat people until you're to that point? One of the things I determined early on in my career was I'm going to get everything out of these opportunities that I have, so that if and when we part ways, because at some point we will, at some point I'm going to outgrow you or you're going to outgrow me. And I'm going to go on. But when I leave, it will not be bitter, because I'm taking the coffee, I'm taking the pizza, I'm taking the training, I'm taking the certifications, I'm taking everything that you offer. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, take everything. When we used to be in the office, and you know this, and people start complaining, I'm like, go in there, get some of that free coffee, get you some tea. They're going to have pizza on Friday. Take it out. Take everything. You got PTO, take that. You got volunteer days, take it all. Because when you see it from that perspective, you don't see it as I'm giving and they're not giving back, because what is it that you're looking for? And everybody can get the same thing back. So take everything. If they give a free classes, take it. They can't take that from you when they say bye.
Amen. Amen. Take advantage of all the resources. Yeah.
Take it. Because this is a moment in time.
Yeah.
How long that moment lasts, who knows? But it's a moment.
So, and what you're also highlighting is what you're gaining from that company and that opportunity is much bigger than the paycheck, or it should be.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I recognize that there are some people who kind of frozen in roles, cut corporations. We don't have that experience, but there are some companies that, I mean, it's very transactional. You come in, put this box up 10 hours a day, and I'm gonna give you a check. I may give you a t-shirt. And I recognize there are people who are stuck in those things. And even in our world, there are people who are stuck doing the same remote things. And part of that stuckness, and you talk about leader and how we expand it, being able to identify that and some of it could just be personal. Like as a leader, I can't do nothing because you got other stuff. Like there are times when I'm in meetings or I'm talking, I'm like, that person needs therapy, but that ain't my job.
Mm,
I'll tell you that. But in my idea, I'm listening, going, you don't need coaching, you need therapy. So it doesn't matter how much I feed you, it will not satisfy your soul because that is not the itch that needs to be scratched.
okay. Yeah.
And that for me gives me as a leader permission to say, okay, I did everything I could do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know it's tough when, especially somebody like you puts your heart into your leadership. I'm sure it's tough when you run across a situation where that's out of my lane. It's not something I can help with, right? I've done all I can to try to help this person. Now it's outside of my scope, and I have to kind of leave it where it is. That's a tough situation to be in as a leader, but I would rather you be the type of person that makes the effort to go above and beyond to be a servant to your team members and knowing where that line is and that boundary is as a leader, because that's going to cause you additional stress to carry that, to try to carry too much as a leader and try to fix everything, right?
Absolutely. And because I don't turn my computer off and those people don't leave my heart. I don't turn my computer off at 5 o'clock on Friday and not think about, I don't stress over it. But if obviously, because I'm a woman of faith, when I have to make those tough decisions, I'm praying about that. I'm thinking about that.
Yeah.
I'm praying for their next opportunity or whatever. And I recognize this a long time ago, Jonathan. Jim Collins has a book called Good to Great, and it's about the 10 back. I wonder if he'd do that again in the context of the current big companies, because at the time it was like GE, so many outdated companies now that he modeled as successful companies because of their business organizational construct. And I'm like, it's Amazon and all them people that blew it out the water. But he has a book called Good to Great, and he talks about getting the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and the right people in the right seat. And I read that book many years ago when I was a beginning leader, and it literally has carried my leadership philosophy. Is that when I have to, my job is to organize the seats on the bus. And then when I'm looking, and it's not personal if I say who you are doesn't fit this bus, I don't take it personal.
Yeah.
Right. And it helps me to guide people. I have people that I've had to let go that I'm still friends with because in letting them go, it freed them to they run happy.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, because you're looking for alignment. They need to be in the right spot. Because not doing them, they're actually wasting time if they spend so much
They're
too much
just stuck.
time. Yeah, they're stuck in a role that doesn't suit them. Yeah. Gotta be willing to know when it's appropriate to let a person move on to something else.
Move, and that's what it is. Is me saying, for what I've been tasked with doing, these are the people that need to be on this bus.
Yeah.
People that need to find a new bus. I'm praying that that opportunity opens very clearly for them, and hopefully they're already working on that.
Okay. And that was from good to great.
From Good to Great, Jim Collins. Yep,
Who Collins?
Jim Collins. He was a business professor at Stanford,
Okay. Good one. Good one.
and then he has another book called Built to Last.
All right.
Now, again, the companies he used in that research are antiquated now, but the concepts are not.
The concepts are still relevant. Yeah. Good stuff. She's giving us all the nuggets today. I'm loving every bit of it.
So that goes back to, you said you asked me about concept. I told you we can give you 10 more characteristics. Leaders must be curious, and leaders must be readers.
Curious and readers. Okay. And that goes with learning too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Outstanding. Well, you know what? My next question is about you though, because now that the listeners are getting to know you a little bit, I'd like to know from you, your philosophies about leadership are just so real and genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And they really, one thing I loved about interacting with you is I always feel your heart, right? You know your stuff, you're getting it done, but I can engage with you, leave feeling inspired encouraged, sometimes even better about myself. So, so I want to ask you, have you always envisioned yourself as a leader? You know, we talked about people looking at examples of leadership and not seeing themselves as a leader because of the examples that are out there. What about you when you think back over the years? Have you always envisioned yourself as potentially being a leader?
That's so funny. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I was at my high school reunion in Chicago. Probably my high school classmates probably were like, Yolanda, like, because I was very quiet, very reserved. Um, my first experience of being a leader was at my grammar school in Chicago. You graduated from grammar school. That's why I hail from Chicago, Illinois, South Side. We graduated from grammar school, and I remember um, being there was a song we were singing for. I don't know why. Now I think back on it. Sooner I will be done with the troubles of the world. Now, why eighth graders singing that song? But anyway, I digress. We sang that song, and Mr. Bennett asked me to direct it. And I directed the song at our eighth grade graduation. I think back on that moment a lot because it probably was my first big moment to lead. And it was to lead a choir in a song, but it was leadership.
Wow. That's so powerful though, because even at that age, it really hammers home the impact that teachers can make.
Uh, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was leadership. And so my career from then, again, I for other reasons that I had to get therapy for, kind of knew that I had some gifting because I'm a gifted communicator. Comes from my grandma and my dad's side. Um, and I always knew that when I spoke, I had influence.
Yeah.
I just never connected the dots as to me being like a leader and leading people and being a business leader and things like that. And so it kind of evolved as opportunities of my passion because I told you, I don't play if I don't can't give, my all to it. And so as my passion would show up and people would have me to take on more, I began to see other skills that were birthed in me. So it was an evolution. I'm not one of those kids who grew up like, I'm going to lead. We got so many kids now, they're doing it at 10 and 11. I'm like, I wasn't one of them kids.
Right.
It's an evolution story. As I realized my own and began to believe in my own abilities based on what other people saw in me.
Yeah. And I take away from that something else too, Yolanda, is that process happened over a number of years, even down back to your childhood. But even somebody now that's an adult that's in the workforce that maybe has not seen themselves as a leader, it can be a process based on how you grow, how you see yourself, your self-concept and your confidence, right? As
Yep.
those build, you'll start to see yourself differently. So don't rule it out. If you're an adult who's already working and you've never
Exactly.
found yourself that way, it doesn't mean that you couldn't possibly be really good at it.
So the leadership bubble is a facade in and of itself. I'm just gonna tell you that. I love Michelle Obama's book Becoming, and I got to see her twice say this. She has a line in that book that says, um, she said, I've been at every powerful table there is in the world. She said, I have seen them in the tables, and I came down from the mountaintops to tell y'all, they're just not that smart. A lot of leadership and what we see image wise is people exerting confidence and behind the scenes just trying to figure it out.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So they put on a good game face, but behind the scenes, there's something else going on there, huh?
It's like what we say about doctors. They're practicing medicine. They know some things, but they're still practicing because leadership evolves. You have to
Yeah.
evolve. So there's another, you have to evolve.
Okay. So,
Science evolves as conditions evolve.
uh,
You're not flexible and willing to evolve. And so when you get in these rooms, yeah, you have some idea because it's experience that's taught you that. But you got to figure it out in the same way as, because nobody ever went through COVID.
Yeah.
So we just had to throw some stuff at the wall and figure it out.
Figure it out. Figure it out. Yeah. That, you know what? That's going to be a nice transition to our next section where we're going to talk about what leadership is not.
Right.
So we're going to get in that in just a minute. But first, I want to close out on our what is leadership section, right? So as I wrap that up, the last question I have for you is, how have your current and past leaders equipped and prepared you for leadership?
That's so interesting. Um, because of the space that I work in finance operations, it's interesting because all my mentors have been white people or white male predominantly.
Okay.
And when I think about what leaders have poured into me, I think about their ability to pour into me belief.
Okay.
For them to go outside of probably their comfortability and their norm, to believe a Black girl from the South Side of Chicago could lead at the level she leads, that's powerful to me. So they believe that about me. How can I not believe it about myself?
About yourself. Yeah. Yeah. I got chills on that one. Because that also, I see you paying that forward. I just want to say that. But go ahead.
So that's one thing that leaders have poured into me, is their belief in me, their faith in me.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. How could I, like, I'll go back and go, okay, God, we got to figure this out because these people believe in me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's the first thing. And comes with that is that pay it forward, right? I have a responsibility to create the same opportunity for as many people as I possibly can, because they took a chance on me and I have to take a chance on people. So that's one of the things, or two things that leaders have poured into me. Investment in training me. Ronstadt paid for my master's degree. I mean, that type of financial investment in the internship program, honey, we had never done that before. And for them to continue to invest in that,
Yeah.
because belief comes with resource.
Yeah.
You can believe in me all you want to, but if you don't give me no resources, then where is your belief, right? And so their ability to resource me and to give me the things I need in order to do what I need to do.
Okay.
Those are things I think.
And when they invested in you, and not, I don't know about you specifically, for some people, it might make them more inclined to invest in themselves in terms of, investing in trainings, going to networking events or whatever, might grow them professionally, being willing to invest in themselves, because not everybody does that.
Absolutely. And that's not, they invested in me because they saw me investing in myself. Obviously, I had to submit grades and things like that in order to continue to be funded.
Yeah.
But for them to believe in me to that perspective, I can't help but take that away. So that's when I think about corporate leaders, what I have gotten. And I would say the same in my life. My mom probably was the one that believed in me the most. I would tell people with my mother that if I told her I was going to the moon, she would be the first person at the launch pad going, "What time you leaving?" I ain't never been to the moon before. I ain't never been on a rocket, but she would believe in me so much and ask me, "Do I need $10 to get there?" So when you think about that in your personal life. When you think about the sacrifices the people who love you have made to believe in you,
Yeah,
source you, to give you the opportunity to show up for you, show up at your play and clap even though you're horrible.
yeah, yeah.
That's the stuff that buoys me on and carries me when things get tough, because they believed in me.
Yeah, yeah. And you want to honor that belief. Yeah.
As much as I can, my daughter believes in me. And so I have to honor that belief with as much effort as possible and as much investment as possible.
I love that. Love that.